at the end of the riots also, I mean, the predominant reading was a law and order problem, right? That it was here were people who came from a strange place, and then here's where our races kind of kind of just underneath the surface of our superficial multiracialism, our racism comes out, and then we have these views about Indians, right, or South Asians, right, and then we say, okay, they're very prone to drinking and violence and all of that. And you put them in a space, what do you expect, right? So if the reading is that these are people who are inclined that way, unlike us, well-ordered Singaporeans, right? Then the
Yeah.
solution becomes, oh, well, then we have to police that space, right? So we ban we kind of come up with all these alcohol bans and, more CCTVs, more surveillance and all, and that becomes our solution. But that solution is based on the negative stereotypes that we've
Yeah.
also evolve alongside the positive ones, right? So those become salient. And then we base our solutions on that. And we actually dismiss publicly other readings. The racist one is never admitted to. The readings, the interpretation about how this may have something to do with their conditions of living and working,
Yeah.
the kind of the exploited nature of their existence, and all these things can also help to explain why something like Little India riots could have happened. We dismiss those, and then we just go with a simple technocratic police it better
Hmm.
approach. I have a funny feeling we may do the same, because your question is, are there parallels, right? We may do the same with the dormitories, right? Same sort of spectacle of a crisis, same sort of, and this is where it's galling, because even the kindest people out there, you might hear them say something like, yeah, these guys, right, they go and bring in the virus.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? So, even the most usually humane and empathetic are also prone to saying things like that. So there's a certain kind of stigmatization of this group that we have kind of cast aside. And then when they rear their head, right, we start to put all the blame onto them. We stigmatize them further by reporting about them as if they're this kind of internal but external category that we
Uh-huh.
can kind of close off and deal with that way. Um, and without, and of course here again it's the same sort of surveillance approach, right? You kind of seal them off, police them off, and hope that the infections will kind of die off as
Yeah.
we, you know um, and so my fear is, if the same pattern continues as what happened after the Little India riots, we may just end up at the end of this saying, okay, because we will come out of this, right? So we'll say,
Yeah.
okay, we kind of killed off the virus, and we contained the problem, and now let's do some soul searching, as we always like to say in Singapore, some soul searching, and then we will just tweak the regulations a little bit, like make sure maybe there are 8 people in the room, right, or 10 people per room. Let's make sure that these firms, maybe we'll find 1 or 2 of them, and then we will ask them to make sure that they employ cleaners more regularly and to a high enough standard. We might say, okay, let's build 1 or 2 state-of-the-art dormitories, right?
Yeah.
That the world has never seen before, right? In Singapore's crowning glory, right?
Yeah.
And we'll do those things, and we check the box,
Yeah.
and then we solve that problem, right?
Yeah.
And it hasn't been solved, right? Because there's a basic underlying structural issue that we seem not able to, or not willing to, I'm not sure,
Yeah.
grab and solve, because it's painful, it's maybe politically costly, it's uncertain, and maybe there isn't. Maybe these are times that where a heroic kind of leadership is difficult.